And then we get to season 3 of How I Met Your Mother. Hope y'all been enjoying this episode making so far. Now we get to wait. Now we wait for it. The episode's called Wait For It, which is Bonnie Catfish legend. Wait for it. Legendary, which is one of the most iconic catchphrases of all time, by the way. And it basically shows like yeah, what happened in the last episode. Obviously, Marshall and not married, and then obviously we also have Bonnie and Robin, Ted and Robin breaking up, and they were trying to like get over all that. All that with Robin going on a trip and falling out with a guy named Gael. It's also hilarious, but it kind of announce his name, but Gael, who's actually played by Enrique Iglesias, of all people, who you guys know is like a popular like Latin pop singer, who's also very talented, at least in his early years, at least. And I totally got his actress wasn't enough. We have to give Mandy Moore, who plays the tattoo artist here, when Ted ends up getting a butterfly tattoo, which again everyone was like so like bursting out laughing at you when he realized, wait, oh my god! Got it. But he definitely still feel a lot of heartache with them trying to like win over the breakup and everything, and then again talk between them, and it's like, and Ted's saying, name one reason this guy better than me. I think you're bigger. So it's definitely an emotional one, but also some pretty humorous moments. So definitely another pretty solid premiere overall. Next we get to One Not Firm here, which fun fact I think was the first true episode How Much More I ever watched. Honestly, not when it came out. Fortunately, I think I watched it like a little bit after it ended. But this actually was the first episode I decided to watch when it was on FX on one day, and it's actually still a really fun episode, honestly. So I have a little more nostalgia bias toward this one, but it's still not a fun episode. And this episode basically seeing how much Gael's getting in love. Ted and Bonnie basically try to play up being like tourists, and I mean these two women who then get away, and then they reveal they're from New Jersey, and then we get Ted's like weird ramble of New Jersey, which I think the way the actor lives is pretty hilarious. Honestly, and then we get some nice marshmallow moments where basically then Brian learns about their deaths and everything, and then we get some latest moments from that, and then Robin trying to be more herself again, but then and then having to deal with Gail's friends and everything, and then being breaking up, but Robin kind to herself again. So yeah, another pretty hilarious episode that I would say I prefer about the last one. Honestly, with Third Wheel and Little Boys, I don't have much to say about both those episodes. Honestly, like Third Wheel basically being like a kind of a fun episode. Basically, Ted tries to get the belt of having two girls at once, and you know, see Trudy from the Pineapple Incident episode, which was a nice touch. And then Little Boys, which is probably my least favorite season so far. That's because I just don't have much to say about it. It's still decent, but overall, just one I don't see myself coming back to. Now we get to How I Met Everyone Else, which is honestly by far the best episode of the season. One of the most hilarious episodes of the entire show in general. As you basically see Tim fall in love with this girl who he supposedly met online, but it turns out but he wants to say they met in a cooking class. And Ted doesn't remember her name, so he calls her Blah Blah. It's kind of hilarious, honestly. Like, which honestly is still pretty hilarious, honestly. But then he doesn't have so much old Ted to remember like every person, so that still makes it pretty hilarious. Lays and Barney basically uses the crazy scale to measure her craziness, considering how she acts around Hunt, but she's hostile towards Robin. And we get the just fun story to see how everyone has met each other, honestly. How Ted met Marshall, and how Ted and Marshall met each other, how Ted and Barney met each other at the urinal, which is hilarious. And also this funny little bit that I always love, but basically he had Ted tend to be like use sign language and be deaf, and then he's like, give him a big. And he's like, that's cool, give him a number. But then he's really like, he's lying to you, just give him a fake number, which is still hilarious. And then we find kind of Lily met, how other people met, people in the gang met, which is actually pretty nice, actually. And they get this really fun back and forth, which basically might actually cares that Toronto orientation, but turns out they might not have, and turns out they didn't, honestly. And then the girl Bob just goes crazy, turns out they might have World of Warcraft. Also, at the very end of the series, the girl ends up being named Carol. But yeah, definitely going top of the list. Then we have I'm Not That Guy, which, yeah, because episode in the end, I don't really have a lot to say about, but it's still a pretty fun episode. Basically, see Marshall going back for which job he wants to take. The Lynn wants to take the high-paying job that might deter her his way from saving the Earth, because she ends up having a massive credit card debt, which is kind of hilarious and interesting. And of course, doesn't do well instantly, and then gets a back and forth that between him and Robin. And we get this fun side part where apparently Ted Mosby's name is on a porn series and everything, and then he has to meet the guy who turns out to be someone that Ted actually knew, and then we get some pretty hilarious lines in that. So yeah, not I'm saying about it in general, but definitely going about the episode previous episode. Then we get to Drown Zip Dyspesia. I really haven't, even when I say I don't really know how to pronounce it, honestly. But it's kind of like a continuation episode, but obviously Lily still has their credit card debt, and Mosh and Lily try to find an apartment, and we get this like fun side gag where they're like, we decided not to do it. They probably should have done that. We bought it! Yeah! No, we bought the apartment, no way. That's what we should have said. Yay! Like, that's a fun side gag, honestly. And then Masha finds out Lily's credit card debt. We get some touchy moments between both the characters in the end. They decided about the apartment and find out what Japanese really means. Along with the boy hauntings as well. So yeah, not the so yeah. I know episode on it. I also in general don't have much to say about, but it's still a pretty fun episode. Now we get to a spoiler alert, which is honestly going on top. I'm gonna say it's going on top of the list, honestly. Another highly hilarious episode. Probably one of the more iconic ones, or at least the most memorable ones of the show. Which basically Ted meets his love girl that he's like so head over heels in love. But clearly she has like one major problem that no one else but him sees. Everyone else but him sees. So obviously at first they don't want to spoil it for him. And then he finds out that she talks a lot. Like talks. Like she just talks too much. And then at least everyone revealed their own flaws, or everyone realizing that their other person has flaws, like Lily chewing too much, like Lily chewing too loudly, Marshall saying right when he does, Robin saying literally every sentence, correcting everything, Barney not listening and saying around cat faces, and I love it whenever they reveal them like glass brick, like they making noise glass brick and like that's always a hilarious gag in the show, and it makes the episode consistently hilarious. One more time, Marshall finds out that he passed the bar exam, and then came in his password, and then while arguing about that, they end up remembering his password, but the orange banana cat dance 8663. I don't know the dire song one, what the title what it means, but it's pretty large. Also gets a fun ending where the cat ends up meeting Cat D and meeting against the guy who's deaf, and it's like she can talk a lot, huh? Well, sign language, and he's like, oh. But yeah, definitely going top of the list. And now from one iconic episode to the next, we have Slapsgiving. Also, this is a good guy. They reveal honestly where it comes on much of a countdown on Ryan's computer about what the next slap's going to be. And he decided to do it at Thanksgiving, calling it Slapsgiving, which of course makes it a little irritating because it means Marshall's not really helping out much with it, and because he wants to have slap be as painful as possible and everything. And the Barney's like super scared and terrified of it. And while we get some like Ted and Robin awkwardness, even had this is starting to deal with the Major Buzzkill. Major Colonel soaked my teeth. Which is kind of a funny thing, honestly, but after they start doing it and everything, and it's just dealing with the awkwardness of being a relationship. They end up sleeping together, and leads to some awkwardness. It's actually some nice general emotion between both characters with some solid acting. And then the joke again, and just everything's a given for some reason. But yeah, it's consistently hilarious, charming, and then Larry decides to not have to slap, and then when Barney like monks him for not doing something, but it's like, you can slap him, and that's free! And we get this fun little giddy. I don't remember all the lyrics honestly, but it makes it fun about him getting slapped, which is also hilarious. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's better than the last one I talked about, but it's definitely going high on the list for sure. And then we get to the Yips, which is an episode in reality I don't have too much to say about it, honestly. It's definitely not a very funny episode where we see Barney meet the girl that basically lost his virginity to, that want him to become like basically the sex appeal guy that he is today, honestly. But turns out that James kind of tricked him to faking it or something like that. And it led to a lot of concerns about him getting the Yips and everything, especially doing a Victoria's Secret show, which... So, yeah. Again, solid episode, just don't have much to say about it. And now we get another fun episode with the Platinum Rule, which is basically we see Ted trying to go on a date with Sellers. Sellers would basically get rid of his butterfly tattoo. And he wants to ask her out and go on a date with her, and then plan to go on a date with her, but then they convince him not go out there someone they see regularly, because it might lead to some good things at first, but then it might lead to some horsey things where we see Monsieur Lily trying to be friends with a couple, but it turns out they just want to look in your face and everything. Robin finds out this new anchor, but you know, he's too clingy and emotional, and then Bonnie tries to bang Rain the waitress. And trying them all the different perks and everything, which makes for some pretty hilarious stuff. And in the end, Ted ends up having finding the zombie idea because apparently there's a world that prevents them from dating, which finding this actually ends up and being the end of the story. But overall, in terms of humor and heart, it's a pretty fun episode. And then we have No Tomorrow, an episode I really don't ever remember watching, honestly. I remember that in the end, I don't know much, honestly, and I kind of felt that when we watched, so it's probably going like near the bottom of the list. So I do think it's still a fun episode that has its moments and has its charm for sure. Where you see basically just Ted trying to like live on his lifestyle, and then some stuff happening in the Marshall's living apartment. But overall, it's an episode that I never rewatched most of our episodes, but I wouldn't still call it bad. And we actually continued the Ted and Stella storyline, where basically Ted has 10 sessions, basically have to get rid of Tattoo, and they plan to talk and get to know each other, and in the end, Ted's gonna ask him on a date, and then Stella's gonna agree on everything, which, obviously, we do see Ted kind of bargaining a little bit, and of course, people say this is kind of Ted being creepy, and Ted just thinking, not taking enough for an answer and everything, a lot of stuff, and first he accepts it, but when she actually does ask him after all sessions, and she says no, it's like, she never actually said no. You're just too busy, so they go on too many. Which I'll say is definitely one of Ted's more earnest moments. And we also get the stepsister Abby, who's also played by pop star Britney Spears. Who was played by pop star Britney Spears, who kind of gets a little bit of flame with Barney. So yeah, we'll talk about more later. But overall, another fun episode. Then we get the bracket, another probably pretty hilarious episode that's definitely going high up on the ranking, where basically Brian still tries to use his tricks trying to get women, but then they end up finding Brian's schemes, and as soon as it comes back and everything, and then leads to some, it's like, what's going on? And then find out he has a saboteur that's ruining him, and eventually when she had chocolate, it's like, hey, I know Bonnie's trying, but he's just doing your pants. Seeing Bonnie was the biggest mistake of my life. Honestly, really close to find out in that Atlanta season. We get this pretty hilarious moment where basically he trying to find that, and this kind of definitely job so proves that Barney is a pretty messed up person. Like, he always perfect in the past, but Jesus, all the lies he had to do just to get people's pants, like, wow. Just wow. And basically that scene where basically everyone's like getting drunk and arguing about like what thing that Barney's done is worse. Again, he's so hilarious. Especially Bonnie like trying to apologize and then end up not working out and everything, and especially when ends up flipping on him on. So yeah, the hilarity puts this episode much high on this list. The hilarity of this episode puts this episode pretty high in the season ranking. The Chain of Screaming. Basically, an episode I don't really remember watching much, honestly, but it's still another fun episode. Basically, Marshall tries to figure out how he had to now he ended up being yelled at by his boss, which is why the episode's called The Chain of Screaming, honestly. And again, don't have really much to say about this episode aside from that, but having the usual like antics and everything that you expect from How Mother. Again, not a bad episode, but it's definitely going like near the bottom of the list, but it's still a fun episode. I just don't really have much to say about it. And now we get another Robin Sparkles episode, which I mentioned Slap At being another great episode, which as it films right now is probably my favorite episode of the show so far. And this one's definitely also high up on, so usually when they go focus on the Robin Sparkles stuff, usually that stuff's pretty fun and hilarious. And actually it's kind of charming and kind of interesting, but we'll get to those episodes later, but it's not pretty fun one, honestly, where basically Robin falls back in love with this guy named Simon, who she had kind of fell in love with when she was the big pop star that she was. Up in love, you're like a teenager again, and then the guy ends up again for the little same reason, and they end up watching the video of Robin Sparkles' second single called Sandcastles in the Stand, which you can tell is basically just a parody of like big popular 80s power ballads, honestly. And it sounds actually kind of interesting and fun to listen to. We actually not doing that, but honestly, you can tell like, well, let's go to Mars making fun like 80s pop songs. This was making fun of the big ballads that a lot of these things were doing during the time, and it ends with Bonnie or Robin having sex. Yeah, definitely going to happen list. And next episode to go, which we basically get the aftermath of that everything where Bonnie realizes he's broken the bro code, which I think this is when the bro code thing actually gets introduced. I think the bro code is actually a real book they actually put out, if I remember correctly, correct if I'm wrong. But Bonnie does actually feel guilty, tries to go on his friend's party, but then Ted actually finds out about what goes on and actually forgets Robin, but doesn't forget Bonnie instead. And it's kind of ends like a few episode arc where basically Ted and Bonnie are basically not friends anymore. Yeah, so now let's get the last one, and also you get some funny like goat humor as well, but still a fun episode. 3 episodes of season left. It's like one of the more shorter seasons actually, so yeah. But we get the rebound, bro, where basically we get back to Stella and the intimate relationship between Ted and Stella, and also find that Stella hasn't had sex in 5 years. 5 years? Da 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 da. And they end up telling Marshall Lily about it. Then Sheila finds out, and she gets very upset and not sleep. And so I won't sleep with you. Like you give me a reason for it. So that's like it's like, yeah, give you a reason. We're looking for one. And so ends up meeting, and they end up having sex, and we see Bonnie basically trying to survive Rat Ted. So it's very touching and hilarious as well. So yeah, another episode's going a little high on the list. I know it's going to be another fun episode where everything must go, which basically Bonnie found out that was actually Abby, who was. The perception is that she fell in love and then never comes back, and then they decided to just be jealous, and then they end up pretending to be engaged, or Abby can't think it's real, which leads to some very hilarious stuff. And we get a very fun moment where basically like Lily tries to sell her paintings and then they go nowhere and then they end up it helps out animals and everything. So yeah, not a fun episode. And we end off season 3. We're not officially like a quarter way for the list. These is 3 seasons out of 6 and 9 at least. We get Miracles. Miracles, in which basically 10 things that teens now broken up over wanting to go to like a wedding like 6 months later, and then 10. And it's one of the things where the way he kind of felt like that, yeah, they're broken up and everything, but it turns out still didn't. I think that it's just like, yeah, we're good. In terms of she thought that, we're good. Weird. It's a temptation, and still finds out about that, kind of actually breaks up with Ted, honestly, and then Bonnie ends up getting hit by a truck trying to get to Ted, honestly, and ends up in a relationship. Marshall tries to point out the miracles to Robin, who always denies miracles being a thing for some reason, and the reveals actually kind of tragic if you think about it. And it also kind of starts like Bonnie being in love with Robin, which is kind of the main thing that happens season 4, and ends with Stella with Tammy and Stella okay giving her therapy, and then it's like, will you marry me? Yeah, another fun episode. Definitely a good way to end the season. Well, that ends season 3, and I thought this was another great season. Like, I definitely put this above season 2, honestly. Yeah, no season where I don't think there's like a true done episode. I don't think we got any like true. I think Mad Max season 1 probably the only true done episode. But aside from that, I pretty much enjoyed majority of the episodes so far. I'm sure like later on we'll get some episodes I'm not particularly fond of. But overall, there's definitely been some pretty good. It's going to definitely make the ranking overall pretty difficult, honestly. We're going to rank like certain episodes of others, but like I said, I'll leave the ranking up here, honestly. But I hope you all enjoying this ranking series so far. And I love to know what other shows you guys want me to do rankings up down below.